today for the April meeting of the Recreation Commission in Arlington County. I will be pretending to be chair today. Jill is out of town on vacation, but we literally talked this morning, so she's around if you need anything. We have a super quick agenda today, and so lots of opportunity for us to ask your questions during some of the items we have. We have our board liaison coming. If you haven't met Susan Cunningham already, this is a great, she's new to the board. We just elected her, so great opportunity to meet her. She's on our side, so it's an opportunity to understand what she wants from us too. We do serve her. Right now we have no other agenda items, and so we'll spend some time in other business talking about other things, but we should be out early. Should we approve the meeting minutes, or do you need to say?
Yes, I'll do some
tomorrow
procedures. So good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Marco Rivero. I am the staff liaison to the Park and Recreation Commission. I want to welcome you to this month's meeting. So I want to remind our attendees that are online to please keep your microphones muted in case until the time that you are ready to speak. I would like to remind our attendees that the PRC meeting is being recorded, and that began a few minutes ago. Again, we ask the commissioners and presenters and attendees, please mute your microphones and turn off your video feeds if you are not speaking. For those attending via telephone, you can mute and unmute your microphones by dialing *6. The top toolbar contains a raise your hand function in case a commission member or presenter has a question during the meeting. Commissioners and presenters may share their screens using the share content box above, and the chat box will be checked routinely, mainly to address logistical questions or issues during the meeting. During the public comment period and during agenda item discussions, the chair will recognize virtual participation first, and then in-person attendees will be able to comment. As way of information, we will be holding a public comment period at the beginning of the meeting. Each public commenter will have up to 3 minutes for public comment, and I will signal to the speaker once time is up. Thank you again, and I will turn it back over to our vice chair.
Thank you, Marco. We have, in terms of voting items, 2 sets of meetings to approve today. We have the February meeting minutes, since we didn't meet, we met with the Sports Commission. Why are we doing both?
So we're doing both because in March, we were not able to approve the meeting minutes for February because we were meeting with the Sports Commission.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Got it. Thank you. Okay, so I got that wrong. It's really the March meeting that we weren't able to approve both February and March.
Correct.
So we will do both today. I don't know if you've had any chance. Virginia area codes, that's good. Hi there.
Just wanted to acknowledge who the external caller is. Can't really hear you.
Hello?
Yes?
Yes, this is on the Sports Commission listening in.
Oh, is this Lizzie Stell?
Yes,
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thanks. Nice to have you, Lizzie. Okay, so if there are no changes to the meeting minutes or questions about the meeting minutes from February and March, I will approve them by proclamation. Okay.
All right.
Amazing. We're done with that. All right. We'll move swiftly to public comment.
So
I don't think we have any.
No one online and no one that signed up ahead of time for in-person public comments, so we can move forward from that.
Great. And now we are waiting for Susan, and this is her. Hey.
That's Adriana.
Yeah, hi. Hi, Adriana. Nice to meet you. I'm sure you haven't met in person yet. So we just went through some preliminary stuff. We're now waiting for Susan to come.
Yes. So what we will do is, I guess someone else here.
Maybe public comment.
Could be. For Jen Hazen, how are you?
Hi, doing well, thanks.
Are you here for public comment or to observe the meeting?
Just to observe the meeting.
Just observe. Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Since we are waiting for Susan, maybe we could move forward to
Let's do
the
it.
staff reports.
Let's do it.
So what I will do is I will just relay two things. So the first thing that I wanted to mention is related to the 2023 Bill Thomas Park Volunteer Award. As you all know, last year we had that award presented during the, I think it was the October county board meeting for, I believe it was three recipients actually for that time. So for
Just
this
to
year,
pause,
yes.
The Bill Thomas Award is an annual award. It is the major adjudication that we get to put on as the Parks and Recreation Commission. It is honoring a volunteer or a group of volunteers in our community who have done some sort of major contribution. We give them the award, we throw a little party, and we announce them at the county board meeting.
Yes. So we'll be doing the same, but for one awardee this year, we, as speaking with our communication staff, we'll begin that process at the end of this month. I think they're going to launch the request for applications or nominations on Monday, April 29th. And the plan is for that to run through the early part of June, projected to be Thursday, June 6th. Once that happens and once we receive all of the nominations, the committee will convene. And I believe, I want to say it's Nelson and Alex who will be participating this year as well, in addition to 3 other committee members, which we will be able to assemble during the summertime. Once that happens, the committee will have an opportunity to review all of the applicants, meet independently to come up with the nominee. And then in September of this year, we will go through the process of reviewing those, that potential nominee, and then have the Park and Rec Commission vote on that person or that group. And then in October, we will come back, or the county board will consider that, that awardee as part of that award ceremony that we have. And then we'll also have the reception right after that. So the plan is to have that in October, November if need be, but the plan is for October of this year.
So last year we were able to get 3 Parks and Recreation commissioners on the committee. And I know that that was an exception.
Yes.
Is it possible for us to maintain that exception?
Yes, I can actually talk to our communication staff to see if that is a possibility, and then we can come back and convene about that.
Just for you two, especially since you'll be running it this year, the reason we had both of you join is that we like to have a seasoned professional. Melissa was our seasoned professional last year with some newer folks on it. And I don't know, I just asked, and last year we were able to get one. So if this year we could have 3, then we'll have you two stay on and have someone else join the adjudication committee from the commission as well. If not, I may ask that one of you take a lead on it and choose amongst yourselves who would like to stay on Bill Thomas so that we can have a newer member join as well, just because it's like low-hanging fruit, but also really exciting and fun and easy to do. So I want to make sure we can get some newer faces in there, if that's okay with you guys. We have, as Marco laid out the schedule, we've got a long time until that happens. So just like last year, we won't really begin this process until summer, late summer even, given. So we'll see if we can get that exception again. I mean, I'd like it to always be 3. Maybe I even point that out. But also I'm not the chair, so.
When were the applications opening?
So they'll be opening on, I believe it is Monday, April 29th.
Oh, okay.
And they'll be live, or I guess that period for nominees to be received will be live until Thursday, June 6th. So that's the projected timeframe, about a little over a month.
I think I was asked in the commission by a not-Parks person, if people, you can suggest to people you know to nominate themselves or be nominated. It's not like a conflict of interest to tell your friend, hey, you should nominate your husband who does all this work.
In fact, I think this is the point to say, spread the word
Yeah.
to the organizations that you wear other hats for, that this is coming up, because we definitely want nominations. And also, if you remember last year, our nominations came in kind of late. And so the deadline got extended, other such. So yeah, they're definitely win. Try and apply, so.
Is the announcement on the county website?
Yes, it'll be on the county website. It'll be sent to various other listservs and contact lists that we have through the county. So other advisory groups, other community groups, So yeah, there's different ways in which we're tracking that.
Last year it made social too, so like
Yeah.
if you want to spread it
Mhm.
on your private Instagram, which I know you have.
It'll be on the county's Facebook. It'll be a whole bunch of different
I'll be right.
areas.
Repost, Gary, okay, sorry, all right.
No, it's okay.
Second item, you know.
So the second item that I wanted to mention is actually an action from the General Assembly, and then it was also signed off by the governor of Virginia. It has to do with the Virginia Freedom of Information Act policies on electronic meetings. So what we have been able to do, I believe now since this COVID is we were able to meet up to 25% of the time as a commission, just in a virtual setting. So for our commission, that means we would have up to three meetings virtually that we would be able to attend without having a hybrid setting. However, the new, legislation that just got adopted would allow for up to 50% of the time beginning July 1st of this year. Now, what that means for our commission is that it could be potentially up to 6 meetings then. That could be virtual only meetings for our commission. How that will be implemented for this commission and other committees and advisory groups, I'll learn more about that in the coming months, and then I will share that information with the PRC either through the staff report or within a future meeting so that everyone understands the implications behind that. But it could variably mean, more flexibility when it comes to meeting virtually as opposed to in person or in a hybrid setting.
Yeah, so obviously Marco will come back to us on this one. I want to hear everyone's reaction to that. I'm only going to be on the commission for another year, so like this is going to be in perpetuity. From my understanding of this, which obviously Marco is going to like investigate more, it does not add any flexibility to our hybrid meeting setting. So we can't say like now, we can't say like now virtual participation counts as quorum or anything like that. Like that's not changing at all. It's just the matter of how many virtuals we're allowed to have. And from my reading, we're able to have now up to 5. So it would really be increasing it by 2, which I don't think would be that impactful to like the culture or anything like that here. But yeah, what do you guys think about that? Like, I think that the added flexibility is nice, and that's what the virtual allows us to have. But I know we also like meeting in person, so there's that.
We also have the opportunity to meet in person in a hybrid setting with the sports commission once a year. And then we also have, we can speak more about this next month's meeting, but August, we have our field trips too. So whenever we have opportunities to visit community centers or other parks or other projects, that would be another opportunity to meet in person in a different setting, not either online or in this hybrid setting that we currently have.
That would be, so we have 11 meetings a year because we don't meet in August. 5 of them would be completely virtual. 2 others would be at cool places other than the government center. And then the remaining 2
Would be here.
And so that's kind of planned for next year, if you think about it that way. Reactions.
That sounds fine to me, but I assume that if people dislike it as we actually practice it, could we switch back, or are we kind of?
Yeah, that would be something that we would have to discuss, with the chair and the vice chair, just to see what the flexibility would be. And also, this takes effect, on July 1st. So there could be some implications about how our schedule may be for the rest of the year. So there may be more opportunities for virtual meetings through the rest of the year. But again, I'll learn more about that when I hear more from the county manager's office and the board office on how we're going to be pushing this forward with the various advisory groups and commissions.
Like my 2 cents would be like, it's harder for us to meet quorum historically and practically in like November, December. So if we could make both of those meetings, virtual without us sacrificing the flexibility throughout the year, because we'll be able to have up to 5 this year, that would be great.
No, and that's actually a really good point, because right now, when it comes to virtual meetings, we're not allowed to have 2 concurrent virtual meetings or virtual only meetings. So what that actually means in terms of this implementation of the new law, like I said, I'll find out more, but yeah, it could potentially mean that we could have more than 2 meetings or 3 meetings concurrently virtually.
Can we, how far in advance do we need to make a decision about whether a meeting is virtual?
So that's going to be part of the whole process that I'll learn more about from our manager's office and board office to see what kind of notification I would need to provide, or
Public
we would need
meeting
to
notice.
provide for the for our meetings.
Right.
So we have the obligation to provide essentially written notification postings online at the government center. And then, yeah, we can figure out exactly what that time frame would be. But again, I'll find out more once I have more information from the board office and the manager's office.
The reason I'm asking is because if it's not something that if it's something we can do within like a couple of days, if we find that we're not gonna have quorum.
Yeah.
We could
See that?
actually switch it over to a virtual. And
Good
that's the
point.
case, then maybe what we could do is plan to do once a quarter, 4, and then have one available as a,
Mhm.
as a. emergency.
And the other question I have is like, I know that's not part of the guidance. I now have read it since we talked last. But if you could ask if it provides us any flexibility in the hybrid remote setting.
Yeah.
That would be awesome, because I think that that's ideal.
Okay.
Jessica here. I'll just put in my 2 cents. I actually prefer in-person meetings.
Okay.
So I prefer the current standard, but I do think that if we have some flexibility around, if we know we're not going to be quorum and we can shift that, then that makes sense.
I will actually take note of that because that's a really good.
Does anyone else share that
Right.
opinion? We'll be open.
Well,
for
I
that.
like in-person meetings,
So do I.
but I don't feel strongly about it.
Yeah, the flexibility is what I want. I want to be able to count folks on the phone as quorum. Not too much to ask, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's the ridiculous part is that when we don't have quorum in the room, for some reason, commissioners who are online can't even speak, let alone vote. It was just it's really ridiculous and fun at this age.
I'm taking over for Jill today, by the way, because she's out of town. She's on vacation right now.
But
So, yeah.
it's over, it's a good.
Does anybody have any other comments on either of the staff report items before we move on?
And those are the only items I wanted to highlight, other
Yeah.
than the ones that we had on our report.
But it sounds like we have time until.
Yes.
And Mark will be coming back to us to give us an education on what he
Yes.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
And there'll probably, just so you guys know, also be for you too, a joining all commissioners meeting where they will explain to us, and then
Correct.
that meeting is always very interesting because you hear what the other commissions are griping about. So you can be like, yeah, my pitchfork's up too, because like right now I don't really have a lot of like hot button feelings about it. But maybe I will. Yeah, maybe I will after that
I think
meeting.
it'd be inspired.
Yeah, I'll be inspired to raise my pitchfork. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Okay. Good.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. We actually are blessed today to have 2
I
board
was
members
on
here.
my way out and he's like,
Yeah,
jumped up and
Good
wanted
chair.
to come
Good
too.
chair.
I mean, well,
Yeah.
I mean, I can stand, I was sitting there.
So if you haven't met them already, we have Takis and Susan here with us. Takis, our outgoing PRC board rep, and Susan, our incoming one. I think,
Italian.
yes, exactly.
I'm not.
Liaison. We are really blessed to have you both be here today, but also be huge advocates for the parks. And we leave this fairly unstructured because I'd like it to be a conversation with all the commission members, but in general, we would love to hear your priorities. As we all know, our charge as commissioners is to advise the board on items related to Parks and Recreation material. So this is our opportunity to really learn two-way transfer, what our expertise are and interests are, what yours are as well.
Yeah.
And what we can help steward.
Do you want to do like interest? real quick?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Okay.
Awesome.
So Shruti Kupa, I've been on the commission now for 6 years. This is my last year, and yeah.
You get to meet another commission.
That's correct.
Who's grippiest.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. We'll
I
see.
have-
Think about
Behave there, you can get 1 year.
it. Additional. Yeah. We'll see. I don't think we need that, and I have details on that. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. You work with Conservation Trust.
I
No.
work at the
I
Virginia.
You work with
Yeah.
Conservation.
Yeah, I work with the Virginia Conservation Network,
No.
but that
Okay.
has no connection to
It
my
doesn't,
standing
it doesn't,
here.
but just like, things you know from your other life.
Different hats.
Mark Lincoln, I've been on the commission as long as you.
Yeah.
So this is my last year as well. So,
And Mark is our resident recreation, czar, guru.
Nice, every sport imaginable.
Soccer, but we go to for all of them.
well, I'm a soccer coach, soccer official, and softball umpire, so. those are my
Are you the soccer official, like the referee schedule?
No.
No. My
No.
daughter's a
Don't ever
referee.
say yes.
So they're-
Yeah.
You don't want to, yeah, does she work for Arlington Soccer?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be,
She's only 13, so it's not been very long.
so, yeah,
Yeah.
they schedule their own referees. I work for other assigners in the metro area, so right now high school's going on, so I'm splitting time between high school soccer and high school softball. So,
So you're getting lots of sun.
yeah.
Yeah. Great.
I'm Melissa. I've been on the Parks and Recreation Commission for a couple of years now. I'm no expert in anything. I just really like parks.
Nice. Excellent.
My name is Alex Sanders. I was on Environment and Energy Conservation Commission for about 12 years. And then I joined PRC about a year or so ago.
Nice.
Hi, I'm Claire Pescatello. I just joined last August. So coming up on my year at the end of the summer. I work for Best Buddies International. Had the amazing opportunity to meet Shirley and
I met her and her mom at an MVCT event and then posted this.
Yeah, it's fucking nice.
Yeah.
It's a park activity.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Nelson Dipter. I've been on the commission for a little over a year now, almost a year and a half. And yeah, also no real background or expertise in parks, but moved here and just love the parks and all the open space. And so figured I'd join.
Adam Rasmussen, I've been on the Parks Board for, it's my third year, is that right? So, third year. And I'm also like Mark, a big
Yeah.
youth sports guy,
Yeah.
involved in everything, Little League Baseball, EULA Ultimate Frisbee, and just general kind of sports community. So,
Gary Sinners, probably just next to this one, in terms of being junior. I'm a master naturalist and park steward to the parks.
Awesome.
And this is kind of biting a little early to a later announcement we'll be making, but Gary is stepping in as our vice chair for the
Oh,
commission. So,
terrific. Wow, great.
Shoes to fill.
yeah,
Yeah.
so good, you're sitting next to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
And then my name, Marco Rivero. I am with the Department of Parks and Recreation, and I've been staff liaison to the PRC since 2017. So
The entire
7 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you storming out?
Yeah.
No,
you have to rotate, off after a certain.
not right now. No.
They do
Good.
sometimes.
Yeah.
but, yeah. I'm not good at change.
Yeah.
And then Jill isn't here with us right now, but she is our chair. Jill Barker.
Okay, Tasha, want to introduce the new?
I'm Takis Karantan, so I work for you.
That's true.
And we do.
Mhm.
So.
A lot.
Yeah, well. We get our evaluation every.
Yeah.
So always good to be here. It's like back home. Right? So this either way, we had a budget session. We probably have a budget. Somewhat greener, of course. You know, for Parks and Recreation, it's an amazing thing because this budget is basically appropriating millions in additional funding for additional programs. Some of you will probably say, okay, is it Parks and Recreation and parks, or is it
Oh, yes.
programs and parks? And
Is there an S or is there not an S? Get me straight on this.
The Department of Parks and Recreation, but this is the Park and Recreation Commission.
No,
It's our-
No S in
We
this
have to make it
commission.
hard. No way.
Yes.
Oh, we want to be able to park it.
The branding isn't strong.
Okay.
Yeah.
We might have to work on that.
I mean, I always
It's not on
understood since the compartmentalization, urban forestry, etc. I always understood that we're discussing how humans use the facilities, how humans interact with assets, and how assets serve residents' needs. That's what in there. While the urban forestry is mostly focused on the actual assets per se, their sustainability, their the risks associated with that, all that stuff. I think this is a good distinction. I mean, from time to time, we come together.
It doesn't explain why it's plural.
Oh, no, it doesn't.
I wasn't seeing the
It's
connection.
all the little bonding inconsistencies that we
Yeah.
have. And frankly, what happens every across the nation with Parks and Recreation, yeah, be serious about that. So it is that it expands. I mean, a lot of functions come into purview of these departments because they're just multitasking organization. Manage assets that can be serving for so many things at the same time. So that's I think that this budget will open an era of a lot of overlapping, interlocking functions. Starting with first of all, we'll see a lot of investment in natural resources, natural assets, and things that whether from dealing first with invasives and trying to improve the sustainability of the park, physical sustainability of the parks, to adding, to have a more consistent free canopy program, or plus free canopy programs. Susan was a very strong advocate for that. To rethinking a little bit the equipment in the parks, rethinking the so I don't want to, trespass into CIP territory. The bigger conversation this year is coming up.
Next month.
To an element close to you. So that's one thing. The second thing is we discussed a lot about after school youth programs in general, and after school youth programs, and the function of community centers and how community centers should be re-equipped and improved to work with that. I have to say to Mark's, for example, concerns the issues of how we will work with schools, etc., and how the athletic facilities will be shared to all us. Yeah, and the rest you hear from.
Okay, I agree. All right. No, it's been a really exciting day, so we'll get to that. We had our work session this afternoon, and both of us are advocating for a bunch of stuff, so we're excited about it. But first, by way of just a little bit of background, I'm one of the newest board members. So started in January. I moved to the county in the last century, as my children would like to mention. And my professional training was as an engineer with a renewables focus. I spent a lot of time running schools and building schools in the District of Columbia. And then did some work in Department of Treasury and McKinsey, and most recently running one of our affordable housing providers, CEO. So I've played in a lot of different sandboxes, but the thing that has been really consistent across all of them is a focus on sustainability, both organizational sustainability and environmental sustainability. So I'm really excited to bring both of those lenses to the county. My platform was really around the connected world-class community, and that's my focus for the year. Within that, there's 3 areas. One is really using resources well, which includes your time and skill sets. And it includes, making sure that people know how to get to their county government and get responses. And then it includes using our climate resources and our financial resources really effectively. So budget seasons when that all goes together. So that's been fun. The second one is really around community well-being and youth engagement in particular. And so got a 13 and 16-year-old, they do lots of sports. They went through all the COVID craziness, and what we're seeing in the data nationally is that the mental health statistics are just really crappy for all of us, but especially for those teens and young adults. And it is scarier at that time because they won't have the context of having lived in a normal world at any point. So we've all been focused on that. I know my youngest had, one of my family members had some challenges at the beginning of COVID, and the resolution in the end was to sleep in the backyard for 30 days in a row on the patio.
Camping.
Yeah, then like not unaccompanied because it was, anyway. So, but I know that like just hearing the birds while you're sleeping and all that, like all that biophilia stuff was like front and center for her during COVID. And it was like the difference between and not. So that is cool. And I think we've been talking a lot about that. And it's like Taka said, it's not easy to get all of the departments working together, even though people need to, and particularly even harder when you go outside of the organization, you're going across two different boards with APS. But that's always been my passion, is to make sure all of our community resources are really, really well leveraged. The volunteer work that I did in the county, the biggest piece was really working with schools on the Dorothy Ham redevelopment and historic. And it was like one of those places where everything collides, like most projects in Arlington, but national landmark and RPA has this park next to it and baseball field. So all of those pieces, and I think we have beautiful assets, and we just need to make sure we are able to coordinate the scheduling such that we use them all to the full benefit of the community. So I know you guys have lots of conversation about that. So budget, Taka's hit some of the highlights. We had our final markup today. So at least in theory, unless they go back and find a map tonight, we have sort of a pathway to the budget. And there are kind of three big focus areas. One is truly the all government focus on climate. So we've said that before in some ways, and we have made some progress in getting organized around it. We have a slightly different board composition now, and our message to the county manager was like, the money is there, the people are with you on the board, now let's get smoking. So that's really going to be a focus. We did a 2-year kind of bucket to say, like, you don't have to spend everything this minute. Let's get a 2-year plan in place, but let's get going. So that's a big piece. And underneath that will be some additional funding, but also the, tree maintenance, invasives, interventions, getting nature centers open, again, pushing nature center type environmental education into schools as well as into rec centers. So it's not just at those 2 nature center sites, but building that. And then Thomas and I have been.
And the nature said that we fund it. So we
do. Yeah, we do. So this is all in our like kind of big climate bucket, right? So we did get nature center staffing. It's you'll see.
We asked for that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like your letter, almost everything we got in some level. And I think that we also made a joint commitment to work on a climate resolution over the next couple of months, and I would love your, input and experience and peer examples for that as we get that going. I think that will then be the anchor that we use for the next 5 years to be like, and how's that about climate? How's that about climate? So that's exciting. And the other budget areas do overlap a little bit. Youth is a huge one. And again, like that kind of Parks and Rec component, hopefully bridging to outdoor lab in some fashion. Again, that's the APS property, but it's the same kind of thing. Transportation, so you have access to all of those. And then we did put a bucket of money where we're going to be working with schools for them to create some curriculum programs as well, so that it goes both ways. And the last thing budget-wise, which is not specific to you, but also a big investment in just our workforce. Sure. Good. So that's the overall piece. The other exciting thing this week is I got I think it was last week, the Gateway Park kind of kickoff, which is super exciting, both because it's so much earlier than we were expecting it, and because the partner we have there is the same one that did that park that did Highline in New York. And so I think there's going to be some really exciting opportunities near term, but also a little bit of thinking out as well of like, how do we get some more fields over 66 one day when it's feasible, and making sure that we're doing that's it.
I do a shameless plug.
Please.
So the online engagement is active right now.
Yeah.
And I think it will be active until May 8th.
Yes, you should be able to find it pretty easily. If I'd been really smart, I would have brought like sticky things. It was too busy of a day. And then the other thing in that vein, shameless promotion, Vision 2050 is sort of this like soft launch. It's it's an experiment. It was sort of a soft launch by the board chair to say, like, we want to hear from people what you want your community to be. And frankly, it can feel a little disorganized because the idea was not to have staff like completely orchestrate it for us, because we've heard feedback that, that some recent things felt like too orchestrated. So I think we'll err the other direction on this one. But there is a little postcards from the future exercise online. We're staffing up to get sort of that project really rolling in the second half of the year. But that is sort of the rolling engagement.
And Neil is actually it doesn't meet anymore, but Neil was our liaison to that committee.
Good.
So if you have any questions about vision.
Yes. Okay, good. Yeah, and again, or if you have a community or a board team that want to like have a discussion about it, we will be pushing out soon, I think. Sort of a discussion guide for you to lead your own discussions, or you can call on us if you want us to listen.
Right.
So that's my main gist. And then, just always, you guys are doing a great job on finding new commission members and like getting some diversity across the experiences and breadth of our community. But that's a real focus for all of us. Not every commission is doing as well as you are. So model that and continue to push us on that. This is just so important.
We have a bunch of open board positions. Tell your friends. If you're gonna leave soon, find a replacement that looks and feels like you, and think about how your expertise.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to tap young people as well. Like you can have some junior.
We definitely have no problem with that.
19, 18, 14, you can definitely like get those voices in
Yeah.
there.
There's no
Yeah.
qualification.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a minimum age. We might have to take that back. We could at least call them a junior commissioner and
We-
them us.
We are trying to advertise at the colleges. Like, I think that's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
So I'm no longer connected to that community anymore,
What
but
happens when we join these things when we're young?
yeah.
Eventually.
Parks and Rec Commission's been my entire 20s and early 30s.
I know. I was also in the twenties.
It's part of the formation.
It is.
Yeah. I joined when I was 22. It's crazy.
And by the way, always important, CAB is coming up, that's
Yeah, it's capital improvement.
and you know how important this is. I mean, since you're going to be thinking about gateways and in particular a difficult project, by the way, exciting and difficult at the same time, because it's, where do you get it part that's over a high.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and has like 80 billion tons of
and-
concrete already poured.
And not only that, I mean, every single street around that is not less than about 4
Lanes of high speed.
And
That's.
We're getting
And intersecting
our,
all the jurisdictions. Yeah, it's kind of
So
typical.
think about it.
yeah.
And at the same time, there is the prospect of getting water, the boathouse, all this, so all this rhymes together. What is important in this budget, I think that will, there are elements in this budget, especially that will change the way we program over time, that will change the program and project the work of our community centers. I think that this will reveal a lot of changes in what the community centers mean, what kind of asset they are in neighborhoods, etc.
We've been asking for this.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, it's
So,
exciting.
and
It's
I- and
exciting,
that's
and
why-
we added some staffing as well,
Which is
like a
great.
sort of a specific team. That because they're brand new, even though they're thinking about teams, they'll also be like looking across everything, so.
Yes.
So it will be-
Coordinated for this. So,
Yeah.
prepare for more,
Yeah.
for more of an active role in redefining and
Programs.
reprogramming the designing actually.
So the SNP is on our plate, like it's a reflection of the budget that we review on a yearly basis that becomes a new plan every 2 years. 2 years, thank you. Thank you. And yes, that's why I was different. Okay, yeah, and so we will be kicking off that with a presentation from staff next. Gary and I got a preview of next month's agenda, and so that's gonna be a big deal and probably take up a bulk of our brain power and work for the rest of the year as well, so until it gets probably voted on in the fall.
And that's another place where like those intersections matter a lot, right? So like we're building a new high school and all of that, and but those spaces inside and out behave like park and recreation spaces, and so we want to make sure we're getting that right for you as well.
So, and the second thing that this budget round may use is a change in the way we think the use mix in parks. Remember that we had this conversation about how much trees, how much hardscape, etc. You know, you have a field day in Gateway, how much hardscape. So this is the very definition of a heat island is Gateway Park is this today. But nevertheless, yeah, it's really
Best heat island ever.
Best.
With a good view.
So this will change. So for example, you know, pocket growth, you know, the contribution of you know, smaller urban parks into the regulation of temperature stuff will be part of the probably part of the thinking, definitely of the long-term thinking in the way. And so you may be thinking about that. It's not always so that it's intuitive for everybody. People want to see a playground and a green space and a few trees and sometimes this is not optimal. It's optimal in, you know, different places, different delivery types, not always the same, you know, multi-layered, multi-purpose. You know, like the Met Park that has absolutely everything except a you know, like helidrome. So it's well, they can do that.
So I think we should take questions.
Yeah, I'd love to do like a round robin.
Yeah.
I can get us started if that's okay, guys. Okay, and
And I
then,
apologize, I do by 8.
okay,
No,
we can do that.
I got a few
Yeah.
extra minutes.
We can do it. All right, first of all, thank you for mentioning the complexities that it is dealing outside of the department as well. I think the third leg of the wobbly stool, that is APS and Parks and Recreation, is facilities and management. I think we've lost out some of the value of being able to work as a three-legged stool properly in areas like the weed ordinance that recently was revised, where it was like really an impetus coming out of the facility management side that is a parks issue that has to be implemented across APS too, right? And so there's just some issues of overlap also with facilities that I think stormwater also falls under that. And so it's like, we don't really know about it until it's a problem, or we don't really hear about it until a whole bunch of staff and a whole bunch of citizens have made a big fuss about it for all of us to care about it.
Yeah.
So that's my first one.
Early protection.
Yeah, something about that, like being able to.
Seeking it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, my
See
second,
something, says-
see somebody say something among these three departments
Right.
as they coordinate together.
Right, and I think as we get that climate office really working,
That- I would
that's
hope
the
that's the
place
case.
that will be, you know, light on youth.
We've always
Yeah.
said that, that's the climate.
Right, we just haven't nailed it
Yeah.
yet, like it's in the wrong place. Gonna work on that, but keep tearing like the on the ground.
Yeah. The second thing is purely on getting more land contributions into the county. We have understood that a majority of these conversations that happen either with developers, with individual landowners, or calls for mobilization funds, obviously is what we're talking about, happen in closed door sessions where not necessarily there's a whole bunch of public processing attached to it,
Right.
which isn't inherently the issue. There's nothing we can do there. But if there is any advocacy that can be done, our position stands as we have worked really hard to get it into the Forestry and Natural Resources
Yeah.
Plan, to make the PSMP Public Spaces Master Plan commitments and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would just love more opportunities to figure out how that works. And then thirdly is on I have brought this to you personally before, but on the diversity office. And we have, I don't know if we talked about this full commission, I don't think we did, but some of the restructuring that's happening within Spearbirds and the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Office has kind of like caused a little movement, and no one's being fired or anything. This is Arlington. But we still have the office, but they're still trying to figure out what's going on. And my particular need is that our commissions need support, and we're not doing a enough job, in my opinion. recruiting folks. And so.
And I think that's
what-
also, that's a twofold piece. So one is, I mean, the good thing is Samia got promoted. So
Yes,
she's in
yeah.
charge of like all planning and development. So that should infuse a lot of that. We did today add an FTE to work with Amber.
Okay.
So to be the Amber.
Love to hear it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
okay.
Amber.
Yeah.
The, by the way, the landed position is
Yeah.
not that. Problem is that we still lack a map of opportunities now. The
Plan has
preservation
some, right?
trust has a map of
Yes.
opportunities.
Yes.
Understand?
Yeah.
So I think
Keep
this-
it
Well, the spaces master plan.
It does. It's a needs assessment. It's not necessarily like.
But it has maps, right?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have like what is sellable, what is viable.
I see.
Yeah,
But land, the.
Yeah.
And the PT does have it.
We did.
Yeah. and I'm happy to put on a different hat and help you out with that one.
I mean, remember that we had almost a decade or so. And it's really up to the conservation trust to go to these owners and say, hey,
Totally.
are you in or are you out? This is kind of what we can offer to you right now. Or you, and the proposition is when you're using your property, you will have a tax.
Yeah.
Incentive to continue. And this, we come always very late. The smoky background deal happens at the last stage of it.
Yeah, I think it's what can we do as a commission to help advocate for it to be more top of mind and less last skate? And because I think that that's where we need to be in order to meet the commitments, is not at the last moment. But I mean, unless you know something that I don't, like Army Navy Country Clubs being sold to us.
I went there twice.
You know? Then I think that that's the only
Why
way.
don't you try to ask them whether they would commit there for lunch?
Yeah, me, definitely the right person to go to them. Okay, and then also I just wanna,
They do
Yeah.
have a lot of like teams.
Yeah.
Well, they have been, first of all, they have been selling their land
Slowly.
piece by piece
Yeah.
over different decades. And secondly, they are not efficient to use different use.
right, golf courses. Yeah. And then I just want to make an appeal. We are still, in light of the new guidance coming out of Virginia, trying to figure out the rest of our year schedule, but standardly, we have the February-ish, March this year, joint sports commission meeting that we would always love for you to attend if you're available. We'd love to have you around once a year just for fun. And then, of course, our August field trip.
Can I only see you fun once?
No,
I mean,
no, you can come as much as you want, but we'd love to have you for this type of conversation at least once a year, and then field trip. We do a field trip in August that I think is great for people to attend. It's always been nice to have Takis walk around with us. It's another opportunity for all the commissioners, and that's open to the public, of course, too. So we
Yeah.
get a lot of great guests who come. It's
Opportunity whenever the weather is at all bearable, like, my
Right.
God, whenever someone has to meet with me, I'm like, let's go. 'Cause everyone's nicer. And
Yeah.
I'm nicer.
All right. Yeah. Opening it up to the commission. Please go ahead, guys. Anyone? Adam, go for it.
One thing I failed to mention earlier is I'm also a member of the APS Facilities Advisory.
Okay, I was like, where am I getting your name? So
Yeah.
It might be Eula, but it's, yes.
Yeah, so I have a particular interest in the relationship between APS and the county.
Yeah, and I failed to mention, I was on the founding JPAC and
Okay.
spent 6 years slogging through, but it's still not working very well. But I do think we made a ton of progress in the last 18 months and are about to break through. So,
Well, good. So that's of interest to me also. And then also just the around, speaking of like scheduling utilization of our facilities, I feel that there is not a good regime of communication, either proactive or even sometimes a lot of things fall through the cracks around communication between APS and DPR. And I think some of it's just, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of entrenched expectations around, whose land it is, who's in charge of it.
Yeah.
And I think that needs to be broken up.
Yep.
somehow.
Yep.
And so I'm really interested in working with you on ways that we can do
that.
Yeah, and I would say like Michelle Cowan from our side has been really very active. And in part, the teen effort has forced that, right? So they had to figure it out more. We're still not there, but the teens need to be using spaces after school in different ways. And so that kind of like smushes them a little bit. There are some pieces that will remain hard, including safety and security around kids when they are anywhere, but especially when they're during the school day. So like even in my perfect world, you just see the master schedule. The schools won't say like these kids are in this field at this time because of all the safety stuff, right? Same thing with the buses. But we should be able to block things in tighter spots and then say, and here is transition. So I think the good news is there's conversations happening now at this level, and then we're adding this level to make sure that it's really intentional.
Make no mistake though, the ABS Sounds is based on the fact that they see that the demand just grow. I mean, they think that the moment that they allow it, everything will look like Longbridge Park, right? In any given or like Virginia. So that is it. And this is true. I mean, after the pandemic, we have this extreme surge of demand. So of course they're playing offense. I would play offense if I was in their shoes, right? So the problem is what kind of the regime, what kind of an agreement, what are the actual costs that we will have to. I mean, we are just at the beginning of understanding that we carve one demand, which is for youth, etc., to work on it and see how well we go along, which is a breakthrough. It is. It doesn't happen entirely, and then we'll see what else happens. But I mean, I understand that this is a major multi-use of almost every public asset around in the county is a huge. And the funny thing about this demand is actually when you approve or you define the resources in growth,
The money.
it is positively correlated to the availability every single time. And that's a challenge.
But it's why we're the happiest city in America.
Yeah,
Today.
yeah.
Somebody does it. Not sure how much
We-
we did this.
It's a nice problem to have, right? You have to wait like 10 minutes more for your picking.
Oh, I said the word.
Yeah, I
The
know.
ball's in the room. Go ahead.
So this isn't like the coherent issue to address, but I was thinking in general, as I attend site review commission meetings, is that a lot of them have the public-private space discussion of a building will say, we're gonna have a space that's ours, but shareable. It's like a slab of concrete. And they're like, look, we gave you your space. And it doesn't feel very effective or useful and definitely not biophilic. So I'm thinking of just ways to address that in those meetings. That doesn't sound ungrateful. Thank you for the square footage, but in a way that actually helps the community.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of jazzed by what's happening in Met Park and also what Mason is trying to do at the Fuse Center, where, they sort of said like, oh, we did this great amenity that was a rivaling Gateway Park for the heat island. Oops, that didn't really feel that good. And so they've started tearing out some of that concrete and putting back trees and then programming the space so that it actually know what to do when you get there, right? You there's a ping pong table. You play
It'd
ping
be
pong.
better if
Maybe
they
it's
take care of the trees they put in.
Did they just,
Another problem.
the ones they just put in or other?
They in the past, they put them in and just
Yeah.
walked away.
Yeah.
And a lot of them died.
Yeah,
The
right.
maintenance, so that definitely is.
And so that's something we can help with, or as long as you complain within the first 2 years, then they have to replace them.
Well-
Because that's usually how APS does it at least, right?
Remember that quality control was never in our DNA. So for example, we don't check what convention, we don't check whether,
For the private
walk
walk.
upstairs. Yeah, no, even for our parks, I mean, you can see here, there is a passageway around here and all the measures. So we never really did intentionally work on that. So that's something that needs to grow. It's a enterprise culture to appreciate the park as a thing that we offer experiences, the role function.
So it's just the space is what happens.
Yeah.
Right, it's the programming, and I think as we, at least in those more urban dense places and schools, I would say are the same, like,
Yeah.
you actually need to program, like the after, and we're talking about that with the team programming, like, yes, there's varsity football and everything else taking the full field, but there's also, the space around it, there's a little tree area that you could be, throwing frisbees, or you could be climbing or whatever, like, you could do stuff, and so I think we just have to change our frame a little bit to what can.
That's,
And remember that the balance between unprogrammed and programmed space was more or less serendipitous and not strategic.
Right.
You said that many times. I was always observing that. Do we want this? We want to have the fields being arranged on the field. How do we deal with the geometry, square versus triangular arrangements, etc. So that will be growing.
and how are they being used also right now? Also,
I mean, if you see the answers that we gave in the era that mosaic and others, these were more hardscape answers, like facilitate that. And we graduated with one of was slight improvement, but still in very flat place. Then we had this amazing opportunity to do whatever we wanted, and money would be really the problem in network. Now we have to go back and see what are the quality elements, what are less, how we rank. How important is, for example, water, what it is shade.
but to that point, to me, for our newer commissioners especially, like Met Park is the golden standard for all kinds of things, but to me, and our focus here, like public-private partnership working out obviously to our advantages. That means the public part wins. It was great in terms of having an amazing public process as well. Like, we felt so heard and, I don't know, well interacted with at that time. And then I think thirdly, that like we really got the biophilic element down. It was a park that was designed with the modernist Arlington approach, which we would love to replicate. I know we don't always have that money. We always don't have
But we
that.
do in Gateway.
Yeah, we do. We have a lot. We have the bid. The bid
We
is
have a
there.
lot,
Yeah.
the bid is there, and I'm so excited that we ended up with the same designer, because
Yes.
that was the first question I asked, is what did we learn at that park that we can do or not do?
Yes.
The next tour, just check in how much it takes to maintain
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know that yet.
Met Park. Just check it out, because I checked that out very, very recently. And I didn't go away
I don't know
with
the answer.
a very comfortable. It's fine. Very
Gary, and then we'll go to Alex. Yeah.
Okay, and I know we're getting.
Yeah, that's good.
Just a quick thank you. Thank you, as I very much appreciate both of your support in coming up with a budget that is just a great budget to help us with our habitat restoration work. We're fighting a heck of a war against a non-native basis. It's nice to know that we're going to have some heftier weapons now to try to win. So I really thank you. Those of us laboring in the trenches, that was such fantastic.
It's been a long time.
Yes,
Yeah.
so that was. And the other quick heads up, the Forestry and Natural Resources Plan that has been approved calls for transfer of responsibility over forested land on Arlington Public School property to DPR.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Because APS really wasn't set up to do much of anything with any of that parkland. So I think it's now going to be transferred into great hands.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that happens automatically, it's
No,
aspirational right
Yeah.
now. Okay, it's aspirational.
We have
Part of the money we'll put in here that we have put in, we'll try to say, like, let's
Which
do a
is
tiny
exactly
forest
why I'm
there.
bringing it up.
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
know DPR already has a lot on its plate, and I'm not sure how well set up they are to take on that additional. acreage,
Right,
'cause it's a
right.
lot of acres.
I would view that as a phased, right? Like, I think they're already doing the mowing and that sort of thing.
Right.
Some native landscaping we could sort of help them with over time, at least to new buildings. And then ultimately, yeah, I mean, I would take, we need to get more trees on the site. We need to water them so that they live On
That
the
means like
school
citing
sites.
the nursery with more,
We could
have
have kids.
Jen and
doing
Alonso
nursery
doing
stuff.
more,
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's like, it's probably gonna be a little bit behind the like get the programming and get the scheduling of fields, but it is in the mix and it's important to keep doing it in the mix. And I think what we're gonna, at least if Takas and I get our way on everything, we hope to.
I mean,
We'll
yeah,
do a little tiny forest in,
Yeah.
you know, in a couple.
Is there a list of the places?
So there will be by Saturday, a beautiful set of guidance for the budget that sort of
Okay.
describes like the buckets of money.
yeah.
It's a little like, we had to fight through like what level of budget before we put down all the details. But we have some ideas floating around and I think you guys have shared some ideas.
The budget is an operation, but strategic government. The strategic government we said we will work on the resolution, et cetera, through that. That will then check its compatibility with other things. Our plans, it has to be compatible, except if we decide strategic change. The how fast or what will be the modus operandi with KPIs, it remains to be seen. It's not like they will retain ownership of that plan.
I mean, I understand that, again, it's aspirational, but
Yeah.
is there, I mean, there must have been a thought to what places there were before this even came about. So is there a targeted list of,
In what we're talking about.
or
in the budget this year?
definition of what they consider forest?
Oh, in the forestry natural resources thing?
There is an inventory, as far as
Yeah.
I.
Okay.
remember. There is an inventory. But whether we have qualified that, et cetera, is a different story, and then you have to project on that the public interest. But for
Right.
what reason you do that,
And they're
Just-
refreshing, DPR is refreshing the tree inventory this year, which would include those sites. And so that'll sort of pop up like, oh my God, this one has no cover. You know, we sort of know that, but we're gonna refresh that right now. And then we can prioritize based on that. But yeah, I mean, there's also the tree equity index that you can look up online. Like you can type in an address and it'll show you the block group level tree equity.
eco or action or stuff.
Okay.
Does that
A whole
help?
bunch
Yeah.
of
In
A
American
a
forest.
very interesting feature of that is, talking about biophilia, is how you translate biophilia in the ABS system. That means,
Yes.
How you say, for example, on your CAP, it's renationalization of school, renationalization of environment, working with
Yeah, and there's
Uh,
strategic plan.
all this. There was an era, the last 10 years was very really focused on stormwater management. So all schools had to build, how many do you have in Dorchester? Like 9,
Oh,
8
yeah,
or
yeah.
9
Rain garden.
rain gardens,
Yeah.
etc. There was a, kind of a fixation on that.
Trying to get evolving.
Yeah. So there was, for example, planting trees, having a forest around that. It was not even accepted very well because the people had issues with safety of that.
Right.
This is true. You cannot see.
Right.
So that, but these are all legitimate things.
Oh my God.
Well,
I
I
make
think
it-
to address this, like, I would be very much in favor of some sort of like forestry and natural resources plan implementation committee.
Yeah, yeah.
That would include representation from our
Yeah.
commission.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten there, so.
I don't know when that's scheduled. We just have the
Energize
plan.
is
There's usually an
more,
implementation
yeah.
plan.
Yeah,
It's
there
a-
is.
This is something that we have.
Because all of these items would then become action items that have
Yep.
to be reported on quarterly.
Yeah.
Or monthly, even in some cases, that would be great to follow.
Yeah.
Anyone else, I want to be conscious of that.
I-
Oh, yeah, Alex, please.
I'd like to echo Gary's appreciative comments. We were very happy to see the budget increases for DPR. And I'm very encouraged to hear that it sounds like there's going to be some money for expanded hours for the Nature Center. That seemed to be an obvious way of expanding programming.
And I would just say to channel Jane Rudolph, she will say expanded hours, but not restoring them to what they used to be. So it will not be 10 to 5 Monday through Friday with a little Saturday. It's going to be some evening hours, some Sunday hours, whatever. But it's going to be a mix and a match, and they probably change it a few times to try to see who uses it when. And some of it will also be pushed out with those same resources, those individuals going to Arlington Mill and saying like, did you know there's a park right here? So that it's stitching all that together. And then when we get the behavioral health hospital up, also stitching that, that Carlin Springs site back down to Long Branch.
Very good. There are 4 major threats to county parks right now, and deer management is the one that Arlington County has been very, very slow to address. We're well behind many of the other land management entities and jurisdictions around. And Fairfax has had a program for quite some time. Rock Creek Park managed to execute one after fighting through lawsuits, and it's been in play for 10 years, and it has major impacts there. Montgomery County has had an active deer management program now for years. And the fact that we don't is hurting. It's having a negative impact on the ability of staff and volunteers to restore our parks and keep them ecologically healthy.
Yeah.
And we're very happy to see progress on the studies that have been occurring, but we are nearing a point where it is time to take action. And I would personally like to see a very aggressive approach about this, because we've waited a long time and the problem just gets worse the longer we wait.
What would you say is what is the obstacle?
Why haven't we moved faster?
Yeah.
It's controversial. It's been controversial whenever it's been brought up. So the Park Service has to deal with lawsuits to overcome to execute its program in Rock Creek Park. There's already vocal opposition within the county now.
Yeah.
And so it's.
I think that will be this year.
There's no easy middle ground to make everybody happy.
No, we gotta decide. It will be that.
It is, but we'll have to take a decision because there is a real impact of the deer population.
Yeah.
And by the way, we humans are arranged to produce another problem. You know, we took out the predators, and now we have to make and ethically also we have to kill the deer because we made a mistake.
I think it's
the problem is that for me, and as I've seen that, is we have to set up a real program that uses multiple forms of management, because one form of deer population management, apparently, if you apply only one, it is not very effective. This is what the literature says, and what the academia confirms. So and we have to get to terms that some people will not.
And I paused you there, and then we need to talk more about that at some point, but if not, Takas might be able to stay a little longer and talk more about it.
Yeah, sure.
I'm new to the deer part, but I want to hear your other 3 as I'm packing up.
Well, the other 3, I think, the county has made good progress on or is in the process. I mean, storm management is something the county has invested a lot in. We started late. We're hardly the only ones to have started late on it, but we are managing it. Invasive species is something I think we're actually out in front of in comparison to a lot of the other jurisdictions around. And I'm very happy that we've invested so much into it.
Yeah.
And honestly, overuse in places. And that's something that the county is starting to grapple with now with its trail survey. So I think deer management is where we've been just really slow.
Yeah.
And it's.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones that's like.
People are
people
believing
in
it
the
doesn't
corner.
exist still, even with the studies that we do. It's like finding the maintenance to be able to do the things that you just mentioned, that we need to continue to do, but like adding this new issue on that not everyone believes in,
Yeah.
still.
I tried to find suggesting that all the middle schools have archery programs, but it wasn't.
Get those kids in sports.
There you go, yeah.
I just want to make sure we all.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
and I'm around
See you
next
soon.
time, so
See you
feel
soon.
free. Yeah, feel free to reach out.
And thank you too, Marcus. Thank you. We'll see you around for sure. Don't be strange.
Oh, you know where.
Yeah.
You know where.
Yeah, so that's true.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for your service.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you.
Great. Okay, I think we're in a good place then.
Yeah.
we're gonna move on to the commission member reports now, which the only thing I really want to say on that one is that Neil will be taking on the Forestry and Natural Resources Commission membership. Just to take a pause, does anyone have any questions or concerns about our positions right now? Claire, thank you for writing that amazing update that is included on page 2 of the agenda for the Crystal City Block W project. Yeah, this is an opportunity to ask any questions about your assignments. We're pretty good on vacancies right now.
So one thing I did want to bring forward, and I think there was some mention of it with the board member related to additional potential additional assignments. One of them could be for Gateway Park, since right now it is within the park master planning and design guidelines process. I think Gary, you might have mentioned that you were interested in following that project.
Yes.
So we could have 2 members of the commission do that, or if Gary would be the sole person to track it, that'd be great. But, provide routine updates for that project and, partner up however you want to do that.
So yeah, let us know if you're interested in Gateway Park. I also live like less than a mile from there, so I'd be down to be your backup too, Gary. I think it'll be an interesting one. If you don't know, if you're not familiar right now, there's like a temporary dog park there that is well utilized. I'm there. And it's in the middle, right over that concrete barrier, so it's not ideal.
There used to be a great sandbox there.
Yeah,
And
it's still it. Now it's for dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. Yes, please. So so this will be part of the SPRC process. So Site Plan Review Committee is the acronym. It is actually run through the Planning Commission, and you'll hear us talk about these SPRCs a lot. Site Plan Review Commissions a lot. And really what they provide is an inter-commission dialogue. It's actually like very much like decorum, like this is for everyone. Claire and I spoke about this and I was like, there's so many things that you wouldn't know until you attend one of them. But like, for example, the only people who have the opportunity to speak during SPRCs are those that are part of the SPRC themselves, the commission. And we get an invited seat to be at the table. Literally, you sit at the table if you are part of the commission. And if you're not, you don't get to sit at the table. You like legitimately do not get a seat at the table. And that means that we're representing the intentions really of all the citizens who don't get a seat at the table, who live in that area. And so the way it tends to work is like the first meeting or 2 will be like overview about the project itself. And largely there won't be much for us to say as the Parks and Recreation liaison to that commission. We will be listening in. I have the opportunity to hear in what are the community members angry about that I can then echo through my words, right? And also like it's some of the first meetings will be about like the geography of the site and like I don't know, hot button issues about like layout and issues with the applicant, and the applicant here would be the developer. Things like that is what will come up in the first couple of meetings. So you get like a lay of the land a little bit. There will always be, if we are invited to be part of an SPRC, there will always be 1 meeting in the series. There's usually like between like 4 and 6 meetings total. There'll always be 1 meeting where on the agenda is public space, where, we are the lead on that. So it's really just asking questions at that moment about what the developer has proposed for the open spaces elements of that project. And in an SPRC, the scoping is really limited. It's not getting into details like how many slides will there be if it's a park, or like how many baseball diamonds will there be, or like how many parking spots even will there be to service that. It's more on the guidelines, things like, have you considered that your giant building should have bird-friendly glass? Have you considered that if you're going to be intending that this park is for baseball, that needing parking to match that is necessary? Things like that is what you're getting at in SPRC. Yeah. Yes, correct, exactly. So they're like usually in-person meetings led by the Planning Commission, where we are invited guests at the table. And other liaisons not part of the Planning Commission will also be there. So like
Natural
natural resources
Commission.
Yeah. Right, pedestrian advisory, other ones, guys?
Housing committee.
Oh, yeah, art people.
Oh,
the-
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
C2E2, historical review board, if that pertains.
The housing commission.
Yeah. What's the art one called?
Oh, public art committee.
Public art committee will join if there's like.
I would add that there is some variance depending on who the applicant is. So for schools, those tend to be quite lengthy. There are many meetings, there are many opportunities. And then kind of other county spaces also have multiple meetings. Private developers, they could often be very short. Goodwill, there were 2 meetings and they were jam-packed, and I had basically demand time for us to talk about public space in the last 15 minutes of the second. And if I had it, planning commission members would have absorbed all of the time. We never would have talked about it.
Wow.
So it makes sense if you can at the very beginning to figure out how many meetings are planned and then kind of adjust figure out whether you're going to have to be a little more assertive than ordinarily, because maybe there's only 2 planned and you're going to have to fight for time.
And the format meetings often is like presentation from the applicant, the developer, presentation from staff. Actually, those are flip-flopped, right? Staff usually first, staff presentation on what the applicant has submitted, an applicant presentation kind of going into the staff's remarks, and then a round robin of all people at the table only. So that's another opportunity to speak up and, at that moment when you're given 5 minutes, a round robin to be like, hey, I don't see public spaces on the agenda. We need at least 20 minutes to talk about this or another meeting, right? That's the opportunity to do that. Anyways,
And I did want to mention too that there is a parallel committee to the SPRC that works on public facilities, which is called the Public Facilities Review Committee.
Yeah.
So whenever we have new schools, fire stations, other community type facilities that are being built, it'll run through a very similar process, but for these public facilities.
And I'm the rep.
Yes.
which is awesome. And then just to expand it even further, before an SPRC comes on, sometimes we have an LPRC, which is a long range planning commission, separate meeting. That is usually like 1 or 2 as well, and maybe cover like a set of projects that fit within one geographic area. For example, Crystal City Block or Met Park that had a long range planning commission meeting before, which is like before you even get to the granular details of that aren't really there. I'm making a joke. The SPRC don't get very deep at all. Before you even get to that level of deepness, sometimes you need to have a pre-meeting to have that. Also, if there is some sort of park element within the SPRC at all, even if it's just like a tiny little park, or it's like the whole site is a Parks and Recreation staff member will then run a parks, what is it called?
Either
Parks planning process.
parks planning process, which could be done either within the SPRC process or post-approval as part of a park master planning effort.
I don't think I've ever been part of one when it runs concurrently. I've only been
Yeah.
part of it afterwards because so many elements need to be approved by the board before they can then plan a park. And now that is the juicy one that we obviously are part of, where we decide like one slide here, one slide there. No pickleball on this one, that.
So what's interesting is for example, I'll just use the example of the Amazon headquarters. Met Park, the park master planning process was done post-approval from the site plan, and then Penn Place, which is the site just north of there, both the SPRC process and the park master planning process ran concurrently.
Very confusing, but Marco helps lead us down the way. Over the years, the website has also gotten so much better. I'd say just during the pandemic is when it got kind of perfect in my eyes, where every single project that is categorized is either completed, under development, in progress, and you can see all of the meeting information, all the information about the site itself, all of the documentation that you will get is online in that one central place, and that's all out of the planning commission. They do a good job.
And one thing that we did too, and I think we did this last year for this commission, is we actually had staff from the Community Planning and Housing Development Department come and explain, aspects of the SPRC process, conditions, even things related to urban design. So we could actually have folks from
Really,
that
let's do it again.
department, you
Yeah.
know, come and visit
So
us.
that's just like
give
a
us
primer from
refreshers.
staff on like this process itself. And then I also always want to point people, we now have 2 documents that work in tandem that we can use as cheat sheets for our commission and PRCs. One is the biophilia guidelines within the Forestry and Natural Resources Plan, which is basically one sheeter on all the things that we can consider biophilic that we should ask for if we want to. You know, obviously it's pick and choose. Like if there's no building on the site that we're talking about, you wouldn't talk about bird-friendly glass, but bird-friendly glass is on that list for sure. And then secondarily, we also have developed just recently, Jill came up with a checklist of biophilic elements, but also parks related needs that we should be considering during SPRCs. And I'll leave it to Jill to like send those all out in their final forms, but they're in your email. You definitely receive them. So yeah, those are our cheat sheets for you're staring blindly at an SPRC, don't know what to do. You have those 2 documents, you can really just ask that. Yeah. Please, this is great. She's signing up to
For
be.
Gateway.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is a great opportunity in my opinion. So for the SPRCs, we really, again, it's like very much decorum. You can only have one person at the table. And so you will serve as backup for Gary. I highly suggest that you attend the meetings with him and like sit behind him literally. So you 2 can confer. So you 2 can confer.
So I did-
Yeah.
So I did-
You guys can talk about it. You guys can talk about it.
So I did want to clarify, so for Gateway Park, this is actually a separate process from the SPRC. This is a park master planning effort
Ah.
that our department is
So we
leading.
can have 2.
So if you guys
And we'll have
in
2.
tandem, you can certainly
Okay,
do
great.
that.
Let's do that.
Attend the meetings, you know,
Sit at the table.
or you know, review the online engagements that are coming forward and just provide us quarterly updates in terms of, or monthly updates, depending on what you would think is needed.
Awesome. So both of you will be at the table then. You can confer together. I think that'll be a great opportunity to learn about it. Yeah, awesome. Thank you guys. Yay. Any other questions on commissioner reports or commissioner assignments right now? Feeling good? Okay. We're in an okay place with the recent retirements. We will be adding more people to our commission. Please let me know if you think of anyone. We're interviewing someone this week, actually. We have some new additions. I'm gonna move us to other business.
Yeah, wait, what do we have? How many do we have now? And what's the number again of how many we could have?
So within our current commission, we have 12 folks, so we'll have up to 3 more, actually 15.
Yeah. So for me, that like let's just do the math here. So 12 means a quorum of 7. So to me, 13 is way better than 12 because you have one more person to help you meet that
Right.
quorum. So
Going to 14, which means.
yeah, so I'm okay with us having a position or 2 open. There's no problem for the ideal candidate to come by. We don't need a full commission, especially with the level of involvement that we have right now. I don't feel like we're strapped for it. But we're trying to fill, I think it's a 13th position to just increase our quorum odds. Not that we're picking a seat filler, but that 13 is better than 12.
It's a math.
Math, yeah.
And just for everyone's just information, I believe we do have, I want to say either 1 or 2 new applications already on deck, so more to come on that.
Yeah, exactly. And then other business. So moving to the last item, there are no letters that we're considering at this moment. So no work for us right now. Gary will be taking over as vice chair, so we will be slowly getting Gary up to speed on a lot of different items. You'll have to sit on some new commissions as well as vice chair. And so, yeah, this continues to be the ask, guys, like maintain your involvement. Let us know if you have issues or concerns, meeting things, meeting times. You can all serve as backups on a lot of different things. But yeah, your engagement is really appreciated. Anything else for the good of the group? Any topics that came out of today or previous meetings that anyone wants to bring up? Oh, adjourned. Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Meeting adjourned. We're done. Early. Thank God. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know. So nice to meet you in person. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. What